For his reaction, let's bring in New York Congressman Lee Zeldin. Okay, Gallup reporting the president has the biggest drop in approval ratings of any president since World War II, more than Eisenhower, more than Nixon, Obama, and Clinton and Carter. But the president spent 40% of his time outside of Washington, at his home in Delaware or Camp David. And today he was literally yelling about getting his agenda passed. What do you say to this?
Well, first off, one of the most important things to do is to show up. And when you're facing crises like what's gone on in Afghanistan, what we're facing at our southern border right now, the push to pass trillions of dollars of new spending and to hike taxes, to be spending so much time away, it does not provide reassurance to the American people that the president is leading. We also need competency. We look for competency. And Afghanistan was incompetency, so that took a hit of the president's support. But then you have what's happening on our southern border, which I would say is not incompetency. I would say that they know exactly what they're doing, and they're doing it anyway. You just played the quote from Secretary Yellen about not being worried of losing control with regards to inflation. The average American feels like you're not in control of inflation right now. And there's been so much that's come out of this White House and from this administration where the average American just feels like the administration isn't shooting straight with them and spinning like this is some type of a never-ending 24/7 Democratic National Convention.
Yeah, you know, he said in a CNN town hall last week he has no time to go to the border. He's spending more time out of D.C. than Trump or Obama ever did. We see a 21-point drop in swing voters with independents. His numbers, you're right, they really did start to go south in August after the botched withdrawal out of Afghanistan. Now we're seeing new reports that there are 363 Americans stranded in Afghanistan. 363.
Yeah, and that was one of the concerns that we're facing, is that we're asking these questions to the administration, and they were saying that they couldn't provide us numbers. And I mean, I was questioning Secretary Blinken because I'm a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, in addition to being on the Financial Services Committee. While we were going through the Afghanistan withdrawal, I was asking how many Americans are still there, how many green card holders are still there, how many SIV applicants are we aware of? And they kept saying to all of us that they can't provide us numbers because they're changing every minute. Well, then tell us the number of the last time you were given an update. The American people wanted candor. And when they said 100, all of us start scratching our head. It was hard to believe then. I'm happy that you're starting to get more honesty come out now, but color us shocked. A lot of Americans felt like the 100 number initially wasn't accurate.
Yeah, and instead of candor, they're getting yelling. Watch the president yelling about passing his agenda. Watch this.
So let's get this done. Let's move. Folks, we have the most talented workforce in the world. What are we doing? What in God's name are we doing? And by the way, you hear these numbers, 3.5 trillion or 1.75 trillion? We pay for it all. It doesn't increase the deficit 1 single cent. So let's get to work. Let's put people to work.
You know, why are people applauding? Because you know what he's going to do? You know what the Democrats want? An unconstitutional wealth tax on assets that are not even sold yet. We're talking about billionaires, and I bet you dollars to donuts it goes to middle-class workers. So you own a stock or a house. They're going to mark-to-market accounting, meaning they're going to have an IRS army of agents to assess how much the value goes up in those assets, even if they're not sold. The paper gain run up. And then they're going to try to tax it. That's unconstitutional. The Constitution only says you can tax income. There's no way he can do this. This is just another dumb idea out of the Democrats to fix their dumb spending agenda that is loaded with pork and government waste. How about going after the billions, hundreds of billions of dollars in government waste that the government blows every year instead of going after taxpayers?
You're absolutely right. I mean, very well said. And you add to it the supply chain crises. You're seeing people have empty shelves when they go to the grocery store. It's costing more to fill up their gas tank. They're seeing ports, ships that are stuck off port in Los Angeles. New truck drivers can't get them online fast enough. There's a lot of red tape in California. When you increase the corporate tax rate, for example, because that's another piece of this discussion of how to pay for their trillions of dollars of new spending, that's only going to result in more businesses, more jobs going overseas, more of a supply chain crisis, more reliance outside of our own country. So everything that you said, very important points, and the average American is able to do their own smell test and realizing, Liz, that what you're saying is right, it's truthful, and what's coming from the President of the United States, the Secretary, the press secretary, from these others, it just does not pass a smell test.
If they were honest, if the president was honest and Nancy Pelosi was honest, she would say, you know what, I'm going to lose. The Democrats are going to lose 14 seats in the House. 14 House Democrats are leaving. They're retiring and quitting to do other things. So that means their net margin of control is just 3. They never had a mandate. They only won the Senate with 13,500 votes. That's how Dave Perdue lost in Georgia. So the fact that they're signaling a spending deal and putting all this on tops of the backs of small businesses who are getting hammered by inflation, supply chain issues, a worker shortage, and more, do they care about the American worker? Your final word, Congressman.
I think that they're throwing members under the bus. I think you have a whole lot of House Democrats who are in tough seats to win as it is when you have these wins against you with one-party Democratic rule in Washington, D.C. So for these individual Democrats, they're giving their vote by proxy to Pelosi, and Pelosi is just going to leave them outside of the halls of Congress come November 8, 22. I think that the House will flip.
Yeah, and I'm telling you that wealth tax, once they put it in place for billionaires, it fast goes after the middle class and the lower classes. Okay, Congressman Lee Zeldin, thanks for joining us.